Two. Okay. All right. I want to welcome everybody back. I'm Bill Barry with the Maryland 250 Labor History Project. We have an exciting group here today from the Baltimore Teachers Union, and they have created a history of their union, uh, tying it to all the other social activities in Baltimore City. And Mike Pisa wrote it, but the other ones helped him. And so I want to introduce them uh, and to all of you, Patrice Pilgrim, Christina Duncan Evans, and Coley Tangella. And so we wanted now be able to uh, talk about how this project got started. And Mike, why don't you just describe the idea for it, where it came from, and what happened?
Actually, if you don't mind, I'll let Christina start because
Fine,
she was working on this before I even got involved, and
good.
then she can pass it to me when we
That's
get
all
to
right.
the part that I was involved with.
Good. All right, Christina.
Sure. So we realized that BTU's 90th anniversary was coming up, and we started brainstorming things that we wanted to do. At the time, one of our big pushes was um, a push to really engage members, which is really, always the thing
and
that we're doing
and sign up the free
every single day.
riders, right?
It's always the thing. But we really wanted to be intentional about educating members and informing and empowering members. And so we thought that the 90th anniversary would be a good opportunity to bring members into our union hall to celebrate the 90 years. And we really wanted to do something member focused and member facing. And so we came up with the idea for a museum that would be displayed during our general membership meeting. Traditionally, our last general membership meeting of the year is a cookout at the Union Hall. And so we wanted to take that opportunity with members to really celebrate the BTU's history because we have a really there aren't a lot of organizations with a 90-year history in Baltimore. I'm really proud of that. We have a lot of wins in terms of solidarity and collective bargaining and just the longevity of our organization. And so we came up with the idea to share it. As we started to research, Mike uncovered a ton of archival information, scholarly research, and it really formed the basis of both the written project that exists in a couple of different formats on our website, published in our newsletter, and then also as an exhibit in our Union Hall, which we still kept some of it up. It's still we when we have negotiations, we make the district go in a room that is dedicated to news articles of us going on strike, which is fun. But overall, it was a really great opportunity for us to bring the history into the present and share it with members.
Very good. And so, Mike, how did you start it?
So once the ball got rolling with this overall project, I was thinking about, well, what can I contribute to it, right? I've been active in the union for many years. I'm on the BTU executive board, and I wanted to use my own skills as a history teacher and also as the editor of our union newsletter, the Baltimore Educator, to see how I could contribute to the project. So I figured, okay, well. I'll write an article about the history of the BTU for the newsletter. And I thought it would be kind of a quick, easy thing at first. I'll just look up some information, talk to a few people, and I'll have a nice article to publish in our newsletter. Well, I started to look and I quickly realized there wasn't much out there on the surface that was quickly accessible. We had a very short, like 2 paragraph version of our history that's been on our website, our BTU website, for years and years and years. And that's pretty much all that was out there that I could find at first. And so I decided to start digging deeper. I started reaching out to anyone I could think of who might be able to help connect me with other resources, especially primary sources from people who were members of BTU back in the day, or anything that I could get my hands on that would tell me more than what I was finding. You were one of the people I reached out to early on, Bill, so I appreciate, thank you for helping connect me with some people. Eventually, I found a lot of stuff. It was just a little bit beneath the surface. So there are two main um, places where I got my information, at least for the early history. So that would be the Central Library, Enoch Pratt Library, and the Walter Reuther Library, Labor History or Labor Library in Michigan. I didn't go there in person, but I connected with one of the archivists there who actually works for AFT, American Federation of Teachers, which is BTU's parent union, but works at the Walter Reuther Library on behalf of AFT. And so he was able to connect me with a lot of really great resources that I didn't even know existed, copies of old newsletters, posters, charters, documents, letters, speeches, drafts of speeches that had never been published, all kinds of really cool, fascinating stuff, going all the way back to 1934, our founding, and even earlier, because I discovered there was another BTU, another Baltimore Teachers Union that only existed for a year, back in, I believe, 1919. And almost nobody in our union knew that that even had existed because they winked out as soon as they were formed. But I was able to gather all that information, and then Ben Eagerman at the Enoch Pratt Library, who's a member of Pratt Workers United Union, was also super helpful in connecting me. He spent a lot of time helping me go through the microfilm resources. We had archives of old AFT newsletters, and there were actually folders full of clippings and posters from BTU that had just been sitting in the stacks up on, I think, maybe the third floor of the library. And I also found something that became the main source that I used for the early history, which was a dissertation by a woman named Diane Keeley. I believe she was a BTU member. And she did a very in-depth study in 1976 of the history of BTU, and did tons and tons of research and interviewed so many people, including many of the former presidents of BTU, as well as rank and file members. And so that was just a treasure trove of information. And I spent many nights at the library, like just frantically scanning pages in this like 600 page volume dissertation because you couldn't check it out. But so, you know, I didn't do all the work myself. So much of it was done decades earlier for me, but I had to put it together and kind of connect it with the present day. So I did all that research. I wrote the article in two parts, published it in two pieces within our newsletter, two different issues. And then I published an extended version on our website where anybody can still see it right now. And I believe you're going to link to that on your website, Bill, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and so I included a lot of the photos and links to documents. Was also able to get a hold of some old contracts that have been archived by Cornell University. There were a lot of odds and ends that we were able to put together there. But basically, through all of this, I was able to reconstruct a fascinating story of our union. The Baltimore Teachers Union started very humble origins. We only had 7 members when we were founded, and even 10 years later, in 1944, we still only had 24 members, and yet we survived. And now we have 8,000 members, and we've won so many gains for teachers and paraprofessionals and school-related personnel, and related service providers, and so many others. And we connect with student organizations and parent organizations and community groups. But it started very small and grew from there. So later, when we were getting ready to do the museum, we decided to try to find a way to make this information more presentable. The article was great, but it takes a long time to read, right? So we wanted to do something quick and engaging. At first, we were thinking about maybe having some of our members or even students put on a play. We were going to write a little script and have a short play or performance. We ended up changing that plan to creating an audiovisual presentation that could later be put on the internet, which is there now. So I wrote a script with two kind of fictional BTU member characters just doing monologues using the actual facts from my research and giving a lot of quotes. And so just instead of trying to cover the entire history of BTU for all those 90 years, focus on kind of different flashpoints and moments like the founding in 1934, the Brown versus Board of Education court case and how that catalyzed civil rights issues within the district, and two major strikes in BTU's history. One in 1967 that led to us becoming the sole bargaining agent for teachers, and one in 1974 that was a lot more messy, but very significant. So we made this video and got two wonderful BTU members to voice it, to give voice to these characters. And one of those voiceover actors is here right now, and that's Coley. And he did a fantastic job of bringing this history to life and really literally giving voice to members from generations ago. So I would like to turn it over to him unless you have other questions
No,
for me,
I
Bill.
think this is great, and
Yeah.
you can come back, and I want to make sure we get all the photos and links and stuff like that. But uh, for our audience, are you a history teacher?
Yes, I am. And that's why I was saying at the beginning that one of the reasons why I decided to contribute in this way is because I wanted to use the skills I already had. I'm a history
Okay,
teacher, and so I already had some ideas of how to do the research, and it was exciting to be able to put my skills to use for the union.
okay. Just for our audience, you're at Patterson High School, right?
Yes,
Okay,
which
okay.
has a long, interesting history of its own.
Yes, and you teach regular U.S. history over there?
I teach U.S. history and modern world
Okay,
history. And at one point, I was teaching a class of journalism too. I'm the editor for well, not the editor, I'm the advisor for our
okay.
school newspaper, the
Yeah,
Patterson Press. Yeah.
multi-talented guy. So, all right, Coley, could we hear from you then about how you participated in this? I know he is driving now to a theater event, but we'll get the best we can.
Yeah. Okay, no problem at all. First of all, Mike is being so humble. The script that he gave myself and another member of the union was utterly amazing, so grounded that I actually believe that the character that I was portraying by voiceover was an actual person. And it turned out, when I got to hear it and see it myself, to be on an extremely high level of professionalism. So I don't want him to be undermined or to feel as though not to get his credit and his due for the amazing work he did. But I want to share something real quick that I think is real important. My journey in evolution of the appreciation of unions, I think, um, is similar to a lot of people of color. For most of my life, until like my mid 30s, I am 63 now, I always associated union with white middle class working folk and had nothing to do with me. The way it had been portrayed in media, um, and also having a bit of illegality to it, the way the Teamsters Union were portrayed in film, the myth and folklore behind it, that union was the poor white man's um, way of having power and influence. It wasn't until I became a paraprofessional with Baltimore City Public Schools that I realized it was necessary. And I had some wonderful people who were union members to give me grounded reasons that why I should become a part of the union. And one thing that stuck with me in my journey of appreciating a union was a motion picture. I hope I couldn't recall the name correctly. It was about unionism and coal mines. I don't know, it's called Maquan, but there was
Matewan. It's done by John Sayles.
yes, yes,
Just
and
to,
it's African black
One of my
people.
all-time favorites.
yeah.
Yes, and realizing black folk have stuff to do with the union. Black people were courageous and valiant, and were
Especially when
about
played by
organizing.
James Earl Jones.
Yes. So I was amazed by that, and that taught me the importance of it and what was shared with me about it. A lot of people, even today, people of color, think that a union is just there to take money out of your check. They're going to take money and they're never going to do anything for you until you get deeply involved and you see from salary increases and everything else. So I just want to share that what unions do on a grassroots level, we as union members and others need to tout all the wonderful things that unions do. And a gentleman I met, I can't recall his name, years ago said to me, "Well, if you're not about unions, just imagine just think of what life was like before there were unions, where you would have to work just because your boss told you to work. There was no such thing as a weekend. Everybody takes for granted there used to be an 8-hour or 10-hour work day. He said there was a time there was no such thing. That your humanity based on your economic class and social class, not particularly race, which was a true dynamic, but what you were considered was more like a machine, a tool to be used, even though you were a human being."
Mm-hmm.
So when I learned that, and when I was so flattered for Mike to reach out to me and say, "Could you voice this?" It really touched me, but it took me a while to realize how important unions are, because you don't realize it until it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize the quality of life, you know, paid time off. And there's still jobs today where folk, if they leave their job, if they have a parent conference with a teacher for their child, or even right now, parents who work a night shift, there are parents right now who aren't going to be paid because their job doesn't have a union for them to have an evening off to come support their child performing. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that I think we as working class folk should appreciate about a union. And I think the Baltimore City's Teachers Union is a perfect example of that importance and how it touches you and connects with you on a human level. So I just wanted to share that, and it was an honor to be a part of that documentary as well. But I think we should all, as human beings, remember what life was like before there were unions, and also appreciate what unions are doing for us now. And unfortunately, in the climate that we're in, unions are going to have to do more to maintain the dignity of us as human beings, as workers.
Right.
So that's my input.
Well, I think it's really great. And one of the things that's real important is the relation of the unions like the BTU to the civil rights movement. And we're now having Black History Month, and people talk a lot about the civil rights, but they don't talk about that. And we're going to have a speaker at another time, Jane Berger, who now lives in Pennsylvania, but wrote a book about unions, public sector unions in Baltimore City and the civil rights movement. And it's just so important.
Oh, in the terms of society seeing that African Black people, particularly African Black women and men, could be in a leadership role with a union. Yeah. The BTU is a perfect example, because at the BTU offices, they have portraits of all the union members, and it's like white man, white man, white man, white man, black woman, white man, white man, white man, black man, and then black women.
Great.
And in unions, I don't think there was no other place that had the visibility other than a union to give an opportunity for the greatness and organizational skill of African Black women, an opportunity to lead other than a union. We have a incredible dynamic leader from Christina on this call and our current president, Diamante Brown, who are perfect examples of what African Black women being in leadership in a union can do to better the lives of its members.
Very
So
good.
I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Fabulous. Patrice, how about you? What do you think about this?
One of the first things I remember in 2019, when I was getting ready to sign my contract to start teaching with the district, before I signed that contract, I asked, was there a union? And they said yes, it was a BTU. Didn't do any research. I signed the sign up for the union dues to come out of my salary before I signed my contract because I wasn't about to play with that. I am native to Trinidad and Tobago, the United States. I'm an immigrant. And so I came here pursuing not necessarily the American dream, but definitely opportunities to improve the quality of life I could offer myself as well as my family. And from the jump, I remember my first year in the district, I was doing my master's, which I was told not to, but I'm stubborn, so I did it anyway. And I was teaching, and the teacher preparation program I was in at the time, they did not prepare me for the reality that was a Baltimore City public schools classroom. And I remember feeling so overwhelmed and so stressed. I went searching on social media to see if there was a Facebook group or something I could reach out to. Found the Baltimore Teachers Union. I said, wait, I signed up for that. Let me go ahead and join. And my first message was help, first year teacher. I have no idea what I'm doing. Help me. The amount of responses I got where colleagues left their schools and came to my school, set up in my classroom to support me during my first year, I will never forget it. And that's part of the reason why if President Brown messages me 10 o'clock in the night, Patrice, I want you to do X, Y, Z. I might ask her what's the details, what's involved, no problem. Even if I'm tired, even if I have a whole bunch of other stuff, I just might drop what I'm doing. If Christina messages me and she's like, yeah, Patrice, I want you to do X, Y, Z. In fact, sometimes she doesn't even necessarily have to ask. She can just send the email and I'll be like, okay, I'll reach back out with a question or two and I'll just do it. Because again, I'll never forget the support, the camaraderie, the family that BTU has been to me from the jump, from the time I came into the district. And even now, remembering that support and that camaraderie, when I have colleagues who are struggling in my building, I'm one of the moderators for the Facebook page. I hold a bunch of different hats these days at the state level and delegate this and delegate that. If a teacher comes to me and is like, Patrice, so by so I'm like, oh, that's easy. Reach out to this person, do this. In fact, come, let me just send you a quick email and I'll send them an email with the steps or whatever the case is. Because again, I'll never forget the support. And even tying it back to the history of the union. The history of the BTU union is not directly, at least not 100% my history because of where I came from, but it's definitely a history that I have adopted. And understanding that we have a phrasing in the Caribbean, if you touch one, you touch all. Like that is definitely how the BTU operates. And that definitely resonates with me.
Which school do you teach at?
Currently, emphasis on the currently,
Yeah.
Fort Worthington Elementary Middle School.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, we've talked with all of them. Christina, why don't you talk a little bit about your part in this project?
So I think that the part of the project that stands out to me most clearly is getting the opportunity to um, plan the exhibition, getting to go through with Brittany and with Mike the materials that Mike was able to put together was just kind of I'm also a history teacher. And so that was just kind of a really, really cool moment to be able to um, see our history visually. That was really cool. We got the support of local graphic artists who helped us out with some of the design and layout. We collected different artifacts that we were able to find or that people lent to us for the exhibition. And working with Mike on his article and working to get the pieces of our documentary dramatic scenes put together. It was a lot of pieces, but there was no other it had to be so many things just because we really wanted something that would catch like all of the different, I guess, the to really make it come alive. We wanted to do something that had so many different aspects to it. Mike's research is really like just such an outstanding backbone of the entire project. And he was really able to do so much research that we really had enough material to display in so many different ways. And so I'm just really glad to have been able to kind of like watch the project come together and connect folks and pull off what we could because I think it was a really, really great collection of projects that celebrate a really long history of like people standing together as workers, supporting education in Baltimore City, fighting for civil rights, fighting for collective bargaining, fighting for working conditions. Like all of these themes keep running through from the beginning, and it really connects us across time. Yeah, so it was a really great project from start to finish.
Well, one of the things we always talk about is the importance of labor history in organizing. How have you found your members responded to this project?
Members are really like impressed by everything that we've been able to accomplish. I think that like BTU has a really strong reputation of um, being a strong labor union with a strong contract and a long history. But I think that having our history really present in our building gives a different, I think, like gravitas to it, connection to it, appreciation for it. And we've kept a lot of it up just because it is a huge reminder of the not necessarily like the weight of history, but of how much has been fought for in the past. And so the news articles, the wall of presidents. Like we kept that stuff up. We did. I think we kept the charter on display for a couple of weeks, but I got a little bit nervous that it would. It's not the best to have an archival document in direct sunlight for very long. So we did put the charter away. But it was also a really good opportunity for us to dust off the charter and reframe it and get like, to really make sure that we had things that were display worthy because we have a history that's worthy of display. I really think that the lasting impact has been really tangible on like our union hall space. It feels like a union hall space with a lot of history now. I think having it on display really connects us to each other in a way that feels a little tangibly stronger.
Great. All right, Mike.
I completely agree with everything Christina said. When I wrote the articles, like I said, I published them in two pieces. So once I published the first one, I was curious to see what members thought, and I did get a lot of comments and compliments from people, but it was hard to gauge because, it gets sent out to everybody, and I don't hear from our 8,000 members. I hear from people that I know or who happen to decide to send me an email. And so I'm like, well, how many people really read it? What did they think of it? I don't really know. And when we had the exhibit, which was at our general membership meeting, it was very well attended, and everybody there seemed very, very engaged and excited with the history. And this is why I wanted to make sure that Coley was on this interview because hearing the voices of Coley and of Darlene Holly, who did the other part of the video, really captivated a lot of the members and guests who were there. We were giving tours of the little, like, we really operated this as a little museum. And so we gave tours every 15 minutes of the different rooms we had set up. And we had the documentary running on a loop in one of the rooms, and a lot of the members didn't want to leave the room. They were like, wait, I want to hear it. Like, they couldn't look away from the screen. We're like, well, but we have other stuff to show you in here. So that was, I think that really brought it home, bringing it to life. I'm so glad that we were able to connect with Coley and with Dolene because it really gave voices to these folks from history instead of just being names on a page. We also got to do some interviews with, past members, retired members, former presidents, other leaders. We actually had one of our former presidents come to visit. And she was impressed at what we had there and recognized a lot of people from pictures in the photo albums. We had lots of other great exhibits that I still don't really know the story of how we got all of them. I think Christina knows more about those. So if we have a little bit of time, I'd love for her to say a little bit about that.
Yeah, Christina, go ahead. We're got a few minutes left.
Interviews with retirees.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
we
was talking about the artifacts like the plaques and the other photo albums and the shirts and banners and buttons and all of that, but you can talk about the interviews too.
got you. Sorry. So we started by thinking about number one, what were we able to find? Because BTU has moved locations a number of times. And so we didn't have like a centralized place um, we didn't have like a centralized place for things that came from prior administrations. Things were just really all over the place. And so when it comes to like the things that we were able to collect, one of the things that we started with was union apparel. Trying to get like different versions of jackets, hats, buttons. We were able to find posters. We were able to find, I think, wooden banners and placards. And we were also able to find megaphones because, we've been in the streets for a minute now. So I would love to talk more about that and the archival process, but I'll definitely turn it back over to you, Bill, because I see we are running short on time.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody. And for people who are watching this video, we are going to post Mike's articles and we're going to post your videos and as many pictures of your background that we can find on a BTU page on the Maryland 250 Labor History Project. But this is exactly the kind of people that we want to have participate. This is exactly the kind of history we want to focus and make available.